It's time for Wes Strader's Sportsline on ESPN Radio 102.7. Sportsline is a locally produced sports talk show that focuses on high school and WKU, as well as regional athletes who play at the next level. Sportsline was originated by Hall of Fame sportscaster Wes Strader. Now with a new version of Sportsline, here's Garret Browning on ESPN Radio 102.7.
And welcome one, welcome all back to ESPN Radio 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio 102.7.com. That's where you're listening to the Sportsline, Mondays 5 to 6 on your radio dials. I am Garret Browning at Garret Browning 5 if you want to reach out to me on Twitter. And we're going to hop right into the swing of things today. We got a busy show to get to. The Topper football team coming off a tough loss. Now they have another East Division opponent this week, FAU at 3 o'clock. The men's and women's WKU basketball teams start play this week, 2 exhibition games. And high school football's entering the last week of their regular season. So we'll welcome on our guest, our buddy Tyler Mansfield at By Mansfield on Twitter, the founder of the new SouthernKYPreps.com, covering all things high school athletics throughout the state and the Commonwealth. Tyler, thanks for hopping on the air with us, buddy.
Yeah, Garrett, always a pleasure to be on, man. Always good to be on with you. You can't beat it on a Monday.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Before we get into our high school news, let's I know you're a big Titan fan alongside me, man, and how about these Tennessee Titans? 2 weeks ago, we were throwing them dead in the water. Ryan Tannehill has come and led the Titans to 2 straight victories. All of a sudden, they're 500 back in the mix.
It's something else. You know, it's kind of remarkable how, you go from Mariota to Tannehill, but Tannehill's playing well. I mean, he wasn't at his best yesterday, but then late in the game, he kind of regrouped and got better throughout the game. But, man, you beat the Bucs. I mean, who's not, all that well. But, hey, 2 wins now and moving forward. And I'm getting to a game soon to watch this team. They're interesting this year. I want to go see what they look like in person. But, I mean, Tannehill's the quarterback, and he's not doing too bad of a job. It's just a weird season, but, hey, I'm happy with how things are going.
Hey, I got mocked at the beginning of the year for saying that this Tennessee Titans had a top 5 defense in the NFL, and I'm firmly standing by that. There's no question if the Titans had an offense that was capable of putting 30 to 35 points a game up on the board, they would have a good chance of being 7-1, 6-2 right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they allowed 23 points yesterday.
Yeah, that was the first time all season over 20 points they had given up.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
As we'll switch gears a little, heading into the high school action, it is the final week of the regular high school football season. We were talking before you went on air. You were at that Greenwood Bowling Green game this past Friday night. Who in the 4th region to you has really stood out? I know South Warren, they had a key injury to quarterback Veldkamp earlier in the year that's kind of made their season much different than you would have envisioned after week 1 or week 2. Who do you has stood out after going into the last regular season week?
I think it's Bowling Green, really. They played Greenwood last year they've owned that series pretty well throughout the years, but they look sharp in all facets. I mean, that offensively, quarterback Connor Cooper's playing great right now, has a lot of momentum on his side. He took that starting quarterback job after having that 2-quarterback system throughout the start of the year. They're playing well right now. They got Christian County first round of playoffs, and then they play Trinity this week at home, which is a big game to go watch. But them and South Warren are obviously the 2 top teams around the area, alongside, Glasgow and, teams like that. But Bowling Green South are the top 2 that I've seen this year, as people can expect yearly. But I think Bowling Green's that team right now that's going into the playoffs with the right momentum and the right mindset and can probably make a run. I'm sure they'll have to play South Warren again come, a few weeks away from now. But I think Bowling Green's that team that's really gave me something to look at the last couple of weeks.
If you're looking to reach out to Tyler, it's at By Mansfield on Twitter. He's always posting great stories from his website, SouthernKYPreps.com, if you want to check it out. I'm taking a look at your Week 11 area football schedule, and I noticed you're pointing out here you already mentioned that big BG and Trinity matchup, but what about South Warren and Logan County? Obviously 2 different classes, but 2 teams that have been dominant around this area, the last 2 teams. That's going to be a really interesting matchup Friday night.
It will be. That's the one I'm going to, the one I'm looking forward to, and that's the one I called my game of the week. Just because both teams, they're both 8-1, both present high-powered offenses. You know, Tyler Ezel, Logan's quarterback, threw for 6 touchdown passes last week. Wide receiver Rooster Woodard's playing great right now. Gary Hardy, the running back's great. And the South Orange backup quarterback, who's been the starter with Belt Camp out, Mason Willingham's playing great right now. And this is a game that you look at it, and on paper it's pretty even. Both 8-1, like I said. Both can score a lot of points. Both have pretty decent defenses. It's a great game to watch for the last week of the regular season. And really, you flip a coin for the winner. It's hard to predict what the outcome will be with two even teams like this. But it should be a fun matchup at South Warren Friday night. I'm looking forward to it.
Those who have listened to ESPN Radio, they know I get to call the Warren East games every Friday night, so I don't get to make it around the area as much as I like to, but I've seen a lot of these teams over the last 2 years. I think the only one I really haven't seen in person is Bowling Green, but I think for Logan County, they may have the most dynamic playmaker, not just in the region, but maybe in the state, in Anthony Woodrum. He is a safety, he's a wide receiver, and this guy, I mean, he does it all for Logan County.
And, yeah, he's good at basketball, too. I mean, the kid's just athletic. He can jump out of the ceiling. He catches great passes, and he can run with it. Plays good defense, too, on that side of the ball. I mean, the kid can do it all, and he's really, really fun to watch.
So it's the last week of the regular season. We've got this new format going into the playoffs this year. How do you feel about the new format? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or are you kind of non-concerned with it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily like or hate it. It's just one of those things you have to get used to. I think it's different. It's unique. No one else really does this. That around this area, of course, this is the state's first year doing it, so it's just a different thing to approach and look at. But I think it helps out matchup-wise. I know back then you would pay a lot of money to travel 3 hours and get beat by 50 for these teams that had 2 or 3 wins going to playoffs. And now you're playing in district again, and the team you already played this year. So you get save travel expenses and stay close to home. So I think that's one of the bad parts because you're paying the teams you already played, and you don't have those new teams playing. But, I mean, instead of driving 3 hours to lose by 45, 50 points, I think it works out beneficially for that matter. But it's something different, and we'll see how things go with it.
Is there a certain team that this may hurt or help in your eyes moving forward, or do you think it's about the same for most of these teams around the area?
That's a good question. It's probably about the same. Maybe some of the lower schools, maybe, for example, Russellville, that would have to travel across the state, can now stay closer to home and maybe get a win whoever they play. But I think it benefits those lower teams, and maybe the bigger ones, it's still the same as how it always has been.
Tyler, you got time for us to take a quick little break? We'll come back. We'll talk a little Toppers as well. I know you were watching that game this Saturday. Tough one against Marshall, huh?
For sure, it was.
All right. We'll take that break. We'll be right back with our friend Tyler Mansfield here on the Sportsline, ESPN Radio 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio 102.7.com.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
Social Security sometimes is the only thing that stands between having a roof over your head and being homeless. But unfortunately, the process for applying and receiving Social Security benefits can be a nightmare. I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Our dedicated Social Security attorneys have helped thousands of people obtain their benefits. If you can't work because of an injury or disability, call us now.
Call 800-555-6666 for a free consultation.
Offices Bowling Green.
You're doing your best to build and grow your business, trying to reach as many prospective customers as possible and get them in your door. Lucky for you, I specialize in helping you do exactly that. I'm Sherry Clark, and for over 25 years, my focus has been helping businesses grow. I leverage the power and reach of radio, the deep connectivity of social media, and the on-demand convenience of online marketing to put you and your business in front of as many people as possible. How do you know my marketing advice works? Just talk to other business owners and managers in Southern Kentucky. For years, I've helped businesses like Studel Financial Services, Super Home Surplus, and United Furniture maximize their marketing dollars. And for as long as I've been helping businesses in Bowling Green, Kentucky Music has trusted me to guide their over-the-air marketing efforts. As your marketing consultant, my focus is on results for you. My advice is based on what's best for your business, not on a monthly quota. Your potential customers have a problem that you can help them solve, but they need to know your name, they need to know your story, and I'm here to help you tell it. I'm Sherry Clark, and I'd love to hear from you at sherryradiosales@gmail.com. Let's get together and tell your story.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I am often asked, what is the value of my case? The answer, of course, depends on your injuries, liability, and the damages to you financially. And it also very much depends on the law firm you hire to represent you. Many times, firms are hired without much thought or research. All firms are not the same, not even close. I know of firms and lawyers who haven't tried a case in years, maybe never. The insurance company knows who they are, too. Some lawyers need the money more than you do. Go to forthepeople.com and look at our verdicts in court. Here you will see injuries just like yours. You will see what the insurance company offered and, more importantly, what a jury decided. You will have an idea what your case may be worth in our hands. And just because you've already hired a lawyer doesn't mean you can't fire them before it's too late. For over 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has been here at your time of need. On your cell, dial Pound Law, that's all. Offices Bowling Green.
Welcome back to the Sportsline, ESPN Radio 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio 102.7.com. Garret Browning here with your local Sports Center update. The men's and women's WKU basketball teams are back in action. The men, November 2nd, host Kentucky State, and the women will host Kentucky Wesleyan October 31st. The women at 7 p.m., again, October 31st, and November 2nd, the men at 7:30. Both those are exhibition matchups. WKU coming off a tough walk-off field goal loss to the Marshall Thundering Herd from 50 yards away. Marshall with a 26-23 victory. The Hilltoppers 5-3 on the season. We're joined by Tyler Mansfield at ByMansfield on Twitter and the creator of SouthernKYPreps.com. Also, a big WKU fan alongside me. I think it's safe to say that, right, Tyler? I'm not throwing you the wolves, right? So. All right. The Hilltoppers, though, 26-23 losers this weekend in Huntington, West Virginia. It was just an awfully tough game, just a supreme rivalry game, a great game to watch, a tough game to finish for one of those teams, and it happened to be the Tops taking that loss. What was your original takeaway once that game finished for Western?
Probably the game starts out and Western gets into a 17-0 hole when you're like, well, this game is pretty much over because Marshall was scoring at ease. Western had 2 early turnovers, and then all of a sudden they come back and tie it 23-all. And then you have a chance to win the game, and during that last drive, Marshall just gets close to field goal range, and that kicker just was not missing Saturday. So, I mean, the way you assess it, it's a good comeback for Western. They didn't give up and just barely fell short. But Marshall, man, they came to play Saturday, took care of business. And Justin Warwazer, the kicker, deserves to be in the NFL ASAP because that kid's good.
Yeah, and just the guts. I want to use a different word. The cojones on that man to be able to, take multiple ice timeouts like that. And, it's nothing to me. I'm just going to stand here and kick this 50-yard field goal and drill it 3 times in a row. I mean, you're right. That's impressive.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. We're sitting in the press box and, well, the first snap's made, but the timeout's called. I'm like, well, that one went in. And then it happens the second time, and Helton gets us fired up because he wanted that timeout before the ball was snapped. That way he couldn't be out here practicing for 20 minutes before he kicked the field goal.
Yeah.
And then third time, you're just like, hey, hell, he's hit 2 in a row now. He's going to hit the third one, and that's what he did.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when they were yelling about him getting that practice field goal snap off. Obviously, I'd be upset too as the opposing coach, but what is the referee supposed to do? Is he supposed to block the field goal attempt if it gets snapped? Past a certain point, he's going to kick it no matter what.
Exactly. I mean, I think we're talking to Helton after the game. He said there's not a rule for that, but I mean, you would think that they can prevent something like that from happening, but just one of those things that just happen and you have no control over it.
That is going to be interesting to see if they do something about that moving forward, because that's something you see in every game across college, across NFL. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's freebies for the kicker. He's out here warming up before he gets to do something. I mean, you don't get to shoot 2 free throws before they actually count.
Yeah, if you call a timeout, that referee actually is going to try and block the free throw attempt. He's not going to let it.
Right.
We've seen that in the NBA. The referee's trying to block free throw attempts so they don't get in trouble. But Tyler Mansfield joining us at ByMansfield on Twitter if you want to follow him and check out his great work with SouthernKYPreps.com. Where are you going to be at this Friday before I let you go?
Yeah, Friday night, Logan County, South Warren at Sarton Stadium. Both teams 8-1. Should be a great matchup. And like I said, even on paper, and a good way to end the regular season. So looking forward to that one.
You got a good look ahead on your website right now. Go check it out at southernkypreps.com. Tyler, thanks for coming on with us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Tyler, he's on his way out to South Warren High School right now. He never stops working, that man. He's busy getting in the final say from Coach Brandon Smith. As you heard it from him, he's going to be out at South Warren Spartan Stadium Friday night for the Logan County Cougars and the South Warren Spartans, 2 8-1 teams, 2 teams that I both got to see this year in our J. Allen Builder, Kenway Concrete, Warren East broadcast, and man, they were both extremely impressive. Now, I did see South Warren with Caden Veldkamp at the starting quarterback position and not Mason Willingham, so it's going to be even more interesting. In my eyes, that kind of makes it even a more even on-paper matchup between these two teams. But who knows? The Logan County may be listening, and they may take an insult to that because that's a team that is good enough to compete with just about any team in this state, no matter what class they are in. We were talking a little Tennessee Titans earlier with the buddy Tyler Mansfield, and the Titans, they did everything possible to try and lose that game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. My goodness, Jameis Winston did Jameis Winston things, a couple of god-awful throws that make you wonder how this man's in the NFL. And then he makes a couple of throws that you sit there and say, well, that's a number 1 pick. But it wasn't enough. Tampa Bay falls to the Tennessee Titans. And I actually finally broke the winless streak of our Gambling Garrett segment. We'll get into our picks later in the broadcast, but I told you the Titans minus 2.5, 27-23, Tennessee the victory. And they were lucky to come away with the victory. Again, 4 turnovers on Jameis Winston, but at one point in the game, leading 27-23 with, I can't remember how much time was left now. About 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Tennessee basically just trying to run the clock out in the fourth quarter. They're going to kick a field goal to take a 10-point lead from about the 35-yard line. It's going to be a 52-yard attempt for Cody Parkey. They decide to fake it. Brett Kern, the holder and the Hall of Fame punter for the Tennessee Titans, tries to run for the first down, gets clotheslined, fumbles the football, was called down on the field, and was a turnover on downs on 4th down. So Tampa Bay took over possession because they failed to get the first. But replay showed Brett Kern fumbled the football before he was down, and if the play was not blown dead by whistle, there was a Buccaneers defender who had picked up the ball and was running for a touchdown. They were going to take the lead 30-27 off of a failed fake field goal attempt with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Now, look, I've been a Vrabel lover. I do. I really like Mike Vrabel, and I'm one of those guys, I like the aggressive nature. But at a certain point, there have been lines that have been crossed that have certainly almost cost Tennessee football games. And that was one of them. That should have been one of them. If it wasn't for the officiating, that would have been one of them. One of the very few times as a Titans fan I can say, thank you, Mr. Official, for getting that one wrong. I appreciate it. Ryan Tannehill, 2 games in a row, he does the part. And he does what we wanted Marcus Mariota to do from week 1. What is that? Not lose the game. You don't have to throw 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 400 yards, 300 yards. But you cannot lose your team the game. You've got to hold on to the football. You've got to throw some key 3rd downs, some key 1st downs. And that's something Marcus just did not have the first 6 weeks of the season. Plain and simple, he did not have it. And Ryan Tannehill has provided that for Tennessee the last 2 weeks. And because of that, it's put them in positions to win games. If you want to know how good this Titans defense is, they are a top 5 scoring defense in the NFL. This Sunday against Tampa Bay was the first time all year they had given up over 20 points in a game. They gave up 23. That was the first time all season. We're 8 weeks in. Yet here we are at 4-4. That's what makes the season so difficult for Titans fans, is when you have a top 5 scoring defense, you cannot waste it. You cannot waste it. And that's what the Titans have done year in and year out with these great defenses. They've wasted it. They've put an offense back there that can't get out of their own way. And this week it gets a little tougher. On the road against the Carolina Panthers, Kyle Allen finally came back down to earth as a human. Allen was in to replace the injured Cam Newton the last couple of weeks, and at one point had thrown 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was brought back down to earth this week, to say the least. The Carolina Panthers were defeated on the road to one of 2 undefeated teams left in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. Tevin Coleman had 4 touchdowns on my bench in fantasy football. 51-13, the Niners. But Carolina's Kyle Allen, 19 of 37, 158 yards. He was sacked 7 times and had 3 interceptions. Granted, they still have Christian McCaffrey. That man had 18 touches, 53 yards. Am I doing my math wrong? 155 yards. Bad Math Radio, you're welcome. Unbelievable what we see from Christian McCaffrey, but what are we going to see from Carolina? Is Cam Newton going to be healthy? If he's healthy and he's returning against Tennessee, of course, that's just how the Titans season goes. They'll take that loss on the road 4-5. If he's not healthy and Kyle Allen is still back there, just maybe they can get to the young quarterback. It's unbelievable. This team was 2-4 a couple of weeks ago. They're back to 500, back in the mix. Oh, I hate it. I love it, but I hate it, man. Put it on the poll. Would you rather be a Bengals fan or a Titans fan? What would you rather do? Would you rather be 500 every season? Or would you want to get that one season of 0-16, 1-15 to get that top draft pick? Because look, it worked for the 49ers. They went and traded for their QB. They went and drafted a pass rusher at the top of the draft. I think like 2 out of 3 years. Solomon Thomas out of Stanford. And then they went and got Nick Bosa out of Ohio State. Man, that guy is unbelievable. He could be Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie. I saw a tweet today. There was a young man that aired out his grievances against his high school coach, saying that I will never forgive my high school coach for saying I had to block Nick and Joey Bosa in the same game with no help. Can you imagine being on that high school offensive line that had Nick Bosa going after your left tackle, Joey Bosa going after your right tackle? There's no way you're throwing the ball all game, right? There's no way. I saw another tweet in that reply where some guy said he played the high school team in Miami built of Frank Gore and Jonathan Vilma. Oh, my God. Yeah, no thanks. I'd be walking off the field, helmet off. I am not playing those guys. High school coach, he's just another player. ESPN Top 25, lies. All lies. When we come back, we'll talk more Hilltopper football as they get ready for an FAU East Division battle from the Houch Saturday at 3 o'clock, a 2 o'clock pregame show with Randy Lee. And at 1 o'clock, you could tune in to Topper Tailgate right here on ESPN. It'll be me, myself, Garret Browning 5 on Twitter if you want to reach out to me there. Or Tyler Eaton, host of Red Towel Radio, will also be in with us for Topper Tailgate on Saturday, and he should be pulling in near the end of our show here today for our Gambling Garrett picks. Once again, I'm 1-1 last week. finally off the schneid and ready to put that win streak together. Thank you, Titans, -2.5. We'll have our 2 picks later, 1 favorite, 1 underdog. You know how we do things around here. Reminder, WKU basketball in action November 2nd, 7:30, the first game of the year for the Hilltopper men, an exhibition versus Kentucky State. And the women, October 31st, will host Kentucky Wesleyan in an exhibition at 7 o'clock. That is right. That is only 3 days away. Basketball season is here. And we're here. Sportsline, ESPN.
Diversity, leadership, education. These are the values the Bowling Green Warren County NAACP strive for. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is the oldest civil rights organization in America, founded on tolerance and brotherhood for people of all races, genders, ages, and backgrounds. Our local branch is working hard to make our community a better place, but we need your help. To learn more, you can call us at 270-573-1909 or log on to our website, naacpbgwc.org.
Thanks to modern realities of speed and distraction, Interstate Highway Ditch can be yours. Here's how. Next time you're in a car and the driver's driving recklessly, simply say nothing. Ignore that little feeling in the pit of your stomach, and you too can experience Interstate Highway Ditch. Interstate Highway Ditch has been associated with rollovers, passenger ejection, and death. Passengers who wish to avoid Interstate Highway Ditch can do so by following simple steps, like speaking up and telling their friends to slow down.
There is no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. Speak up. This has been a message from the Ad Council.
I used to smoke about a pack to 2 packs a day. That really put a strain on my pocket. That's why I really needed to find something to help me out.
1-800-QUIT now.
I was like, this may work.
I hop in the car, I have a cigarette. Wake up in the middle of the night with an asthma attack, hit my inhaler 2 times, come outside and have a cigarette. It was really bad.
Call 1-800-QUIT now.
I've tried everything. I've tried the patches. I've tried quitting cold turkey. I've tried the gum. I just needed a person to talk to, somebody who can relate to me. She was just really supportive, and I was telling her what was going on. She was telling me different things that I could do to help with my stress. I would recommend the Quit Line because the support, the counselors, awesome people.
They called just when they said they would. They really wanted to talk you through everything. They wanted to know how I was doing. I'm definitely not coughing as much. I feel healthier.
Call 1-800-QUIT now. A public service of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and this station.
At Garret Browning 5 on Twitter, if you want to reach out to me, send me any questions or mistakes I've made throughout the show. At Garret Browning 5, 2 R's, 1 T in Garrett. That's how you spell it. You're listening to the Sportsline, 102.7 FM and ESPN Radio, 1027.com. Here's your local Sports Center update. The men's and women's basketball teams for WKU will open up their exhibition schedules. November 2nd, the men host Kentucky State at 7:30, and the Lady Tops, in just 3 days, October 31st at 7, host Kentucky Wesleyan. The World Series continues on Tuesday. A travel day as they're headed back to Houston. The Nationals took a 2-0 lead in the series before Houston went to Washington and won 3 straight. The road teams in these series so far undefeated. Houston will look to change that tone on Tuesday. If they win Game 6, they will win the World Series. It's Strasburg versus Verlander. Anibal Sanchez versus Greinke in what could be a potential Game 7. WKU walk-off losers this Saturday on the road in Huntington against Marshall, 26-23 in a heartbreaking defeat. 5-3 overall, the Toppers, and still sitting at the top of Conference USA Football's East Division. Granted, Marshall now holds that tiebreaker over the Hilltoppers, but the Hilltoppers also have one more game played in the conference. Marshall is 3-1, 5-3 overall. Florida Atlantic, the Toppers' opponent this week, is 3-1 in the conference, 5-3 overall. The Tops have played one more conference game, so they are 4-1 and currently sitting at the top of the East Division. Granted, it all will have to play out over these next 2 weeks. The Tops, with a win over Marshall, really could have solidified themselves into that first place spot. They wouldn't have sealed the deal on the East Division, but they almost would have shut the door on most of the teams in the East Division. Now it is back to wide open with that Marshall victory. And this is an FAU team that has had a weird season, to say the least, but right now, they may be playing some of their best football of the year. Before their loss to Marshall 2 weeks ago on October 18th, that was 10 days ago to be exact, 36-31, they lost to the Thundering Herd. Lane Kiffin would disagree about the loss. He would blame it on the officials, as he did on Twitter, picking up I'm not even going to call it a hefty fine. I think it was like $5,000, maybe $25,000. I'm not exactly sure, but Lane Kiffin's pockets are big enough; he can handle that. Granted, they're coming off their biggest win of the season, 41-3 on the road against Old Dominion. Old Dominion obviously struggling this season, 1-7 and at the bottom of the Conference USA East Division. But that's a momentum builder for Florida Atlantic, coming off that tough loss to Marshall. They have a dangerous rushing attack, as always, with Lane Kiffin, and they love to spread it around. They had, 4 different guys in their game against ODU rush for over 30 yards, and 5 different guys for an average of 5 yards a carry. They love to spread the ball around with that Lane Kiffin offense, and we'll get a chance to see it from the Houch this Saturday at 3 o'clock. Switching gears, the NBA season is upon us. Wes Strader, he always struggled. He didn't like the NBA. He didn't like this new school NBA, so I would come in on Mondays and I'd be all excited about, Wes, you see this highlight, you see that highlight. And no, he never saw him. He didn't like it. And I get it. It's tough. The new school NBA is a lot different than the basketball we grew. Well, I'm 23. I grew up with this basketball, but it's a lot different than the basketball that some of you guys grew up with in the 80s and the 90s. But I tell you what, it is still just as fun to watch. One of the teams to watch that nobody is talking about right now, but they're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks, in a game you'll want to get to tonight if you have NBA All Access, the Philadelphia 76ers on the road against the Atlanta Hawks? Yes, the Atlanta Hawks. They are 2-0 currently to start the season. And I'm going to say it, shafted for Rookie of the Year last year, Trae Young is playing like an MVP in his sophomore season to start off the year. Through 2 games, he is averaging 38.5 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. For the second-year point guard out of Oklahoma. I really like the Hawks and how they're built. You could say they're like a newer-look Warriors. Obviously, they don't have that superstar just yet in terms of a Klay Thompson, a Draymond, or a Steph Curry. Trae Young is starting to flash that, at least a flash in the pan these last 2 games. We'll see if he can keep it up over the long haul. But they've got Kevin Huerter, who is a big-time spot-up shooter, really similar to what we see in a Klay Thompson, not as good of a defender. They drafted DeAndre Hunter, who was really that big piece for that Virginia basketball team the last couple of years and what they were able to accomplish. Very similar to Draymond Green, I almost said DeAndre Jordan. Very similar to a Draymond Green is DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia for the Atlanta Hawks, except he's a better scorer. Maybe not as good of a defender and rebounder, but he is a better scorer in terms of what he can do with the basketball. So that's my game to watch out tonight. The 76ers at the Atlanta Hawks. Also, we've got a playoff rematch. The Orlando Magic at the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have started off the season pretty well. They're 2-1. Just one loss so far in the early going. Of course, their big loss was Kawhi Leonard headed to the LA Clippers. They still have all of the pieces really back from that championship team aside from Kawhi Leonard. What makes this game interesting, the Magic are 5-point underdogs, and they did defeat the Raptors with Kawhi Leonard in Toronto in the playoffs last year. So I really like this Orlando team on the road in Toronto tonight, +5. Keep your eyes on that. That's a freebie. That is a freebie. I've got Gambling Garrett later in the program where we give you one upset, one favorite in terms of odds going into the NFL weekend for entertainment purposes only. I just gave you a freebie for the NBA. Magic +5 tonight on the road against the Toronto Raptors. Let's see, any other big games tonight in the NBA? Oh, yeah, we got to talk about two more games. The Golden State Warriors on the road against the Pelicans. The Warriors are currently 0-2 on the season, and you can start ringing the bell. The witch is dead, whatever you want to say. This team is toast? Maybe. They've still got three key guys that they work their team around. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the big addition this offseason of D'Angelo Russell to try and fill in for what's going to be an injured Klay Thompson for what was originally slated to be a majority of the season. Now, from what we understand, he may be back quicker than we originally anticipated. But this is the big problem for the Golden State Warriors. Here are some of the names of guys that fill out the rest of the sheet. Now, you may remember in past years when this team would make their championship runs, it would include Andrew Bogut, Maurice Spates, Boogie Cousins, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, guys that had been key role players or better on other NBA teams for the last 5 or 6 to 10 years. Now this season, all of those names are gone. Iggy, Sean Livingston, Andrew Bogut, Maurice Spates. Here's what they're working with. Eric Pascal, a youngster out of Villanova, may be good one day, maybe. Glenn Robinson III. Clap if you knew he was still in the NBA out of Michigan. Jordan Poole, another youngster out of Michigan, a winger that really all he does is shoot. Jacob Evans III, no idea. Marquise Chris, Omari Spellman, Damian Lee, the former Louisville guy. I mean, it is a mess what's going on with the Golden State Warriors right now. They're 0-2. They got the Pelicans tonight. They are underdogs.
Garrett.
They are underdogs on the road against the Pelicans as Tyler Eaton joins me in studio.
I had to jump in because I happened to remember that leading into the season, you did declare that Stephen Curry and D'Angelo Russell would each average 30 points a game. And I don't remember which one, but you said one of them was going to win MVP. And, dude, that team stinks. Oh, my. They've got 10 G-Leaguers.
Well,
they stink.
I think my prediction of them two averaging 30 a game could be pretty solid.
They, as a team, are barely scoring 30 and a half.
Yes, they did score 37 against,
also,
who was that last night?
I will not accept any Luka Doncic slander. Okay, Trae Young did not get slided for Rookie of the Year. Luka Doncic, Paul Pierce called him a top 5 talent in the NBA. Is that right? Absolutely not. Not even close.
I only thought Trae Young got slated because I felt like the hype in Luka Doncic was so high that it took away from some of the things he did wrong, and it took away from some of the things Trae Young did well.
I guess, but did you see the step back, one-legged fade away from the corner?
I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't.
That was so cool.
Deserve it. I'm just saying Trae Young might have deserved it just as much.
I was listening to this whole thing, and as I'm riding in, I'm like, man.
I just keep going, don't I?
Well, yeah, because you started that thing about the Hawks, and the first team that comes out of your mouth is this team that everybody needs to watch out for is my 76ers. So I got really excited. And then you just throw this Hawks thing out there. Like my 76ers aren't going to win the East.
Everybody knows about the Sixers. Nobody's sleeping.
Been talking about my Sixers. Not enough people. Everybody's been talking about the Bucks and Giannis, and he's the best player in the league.
Nobody's
this and this.
Nobody's sleeping on Philly. They know they're going to be a 2 seed, a 3 seed, a 1 seed, whatever you want to say. I'm telling
everybody in the lineup is at least 6'9". Okay. I don't know if that
many
matters,
of them can shoot?
But in my mind it does.
And
Tobias Harris is a pretty good shooter.
And like 15% of the lineup can shoot.
Our best shooter very well is probably Al Horford. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but you know what? Defensively, it's lights out. I dare you to score. Trae Young, he's not going to be able to shoot over anybody. How tall is Trae Young? What, 5'11", 6 foot? Can't shoot over anybody.
Have you seen how high he shoots the ball? It doesn't matter.
He only jumps like 10 inches off the floor. I don't care how high you shoot it. It's not even going to come out of his hand. Every shot blocked for Trae Young tonight. He's going 0 for 25.
We'll switch gears just a little bit. Again, stay tuned. We got deleted tweets later in the program along with Gambling Garrett. If you don't know who that is that just hopped in with us, that's Tyler Eaton at Tyler Eaton Radio on Twitter, the host of Red Towel Radio. We'll be doing a Topper Tailgate this Saturday.
Are you going to be there with me?
Yes, I'm going to be there. I'm back.
Oh,
I'm not going to be in studio, and I'm not going to be sick either. Last time I just got sick.
I missed you last time because we didn't even get a pick. Like, even when we've had you in studio, we at least got
That's
a pick.
how sick I was.
You got to create the atmosphere.
I couldn't even look at my phone. I was just like, this is done for.
I know that Greg is going to be happy to have you back. Either Greg, I don't know whoever is the one that puts us on, just for the fact that they don't have to deal with me and Webb at the same time, because that's a challenge. Put up with both of us.
And as is tradition, basketball season has snuck up on us. We don't have any board ops scheduled for WKU basketball games coming this week, and it's 3 days away.
Hey, that's not bad.
Let's get ready, people. We got basketball. Well, I'm ready. We're talking NBA the last 10 minutes anyways. Let's get one more game in tonight that I was interested to talk about. I know you'll be interested in this one. Thunder at the Houston Rockets. Chris Paul returns to Houston. Russell Westbrook takes on the Thunder. Who do you think won that trade realistically? Obviously, the Rockets, they're fighting to try and win Western Conference Finals. The Thunder, they're trying to rebuild. They knew Russell Westbrook wasn't going to be the long-term answer. Who do you think, as of right now, has won the trade? Obviously, we've got a whole season to go, though.
Oh, the Thunder won the offseason, period. For everything that they got for Paul George and then offloading Russell Westbrook's contract. And now you've got Chris Paul, and they're going to move him. They're not going to keep Chris Paul. His contract's terrible, too, but they'll move him. And where they were with Russell Westbrook and even him with Paul George together, they weren't going to win a championship. And they weren't even getting close to winning a championship. And I don't know if Houston's going to get close to winning a championship. I mean, did you get to watch them take on Milwaukee and they were up? It was like 16 points at halftime, and then what did the Bucks do? They turn around and beat them because Russ and James Harden, they can't operate together. And the fact that Oklahoma City was able to take their two core pieces that weren't really taking the franchise to where they wanted to be and get a bunch of young guys, a bunch of draft picks, and they whooped Golden State a new one. I mean, this Oklahoma City team, the way they are now, could be a playoff team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is legit.
Danny Ainge gets a lot of love for what he does with the Celtics front office, which kind of is overhyped, if we're being
100%.
honest, for what Boston has done the last couple of years.
They've got probably the three most overrated players in the league.
Sam Presti and that OKC general manager front office, I think by far are the best in the NBA because of the situation they're in also.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to recruit realistically to try and come to OKC? That was the biggest shocker of all time when Paul George was like, you know what? I'm not going to the Lakers.
Right.
I'm going to Oklahoma City. It's amazing what they do. They get pieces to try and build the championship. The second they sit there and say, okay, this isn't going to work, we need to make newer moves. You see so many teams that get stuck in purgatory.
Oh, yeah.
For 20. I mean, the poor Phoenix Suns.
Gosh.
They're finally starting to come out of it. And then DeAndre Ayton gets suspended for trying to dilute his pee. Good job,
hey,
big
but now
fella.
they've got Aaron Baines in there at center. That's a whole different animal.
I give so much credit to OKC. The second they realize this Russell Westbrook thing isn't going to work, they're like, okay, you know what? Blow it up. Let's go figure out what we need.
Well, a lot of these front office guys have really big egos, and they don't want to be wrong, and a lot of them are former players. And, as you go through the NBA, a lot of them are successful players as well. They don't want to be wrong. They don't like to lose. If they're losing on the court, it's different from them losing the own mental ego battle. And Sam Presti has shown he does not care if he's wrong. The moment that he sees something is not clicking, that it's not going to work, he's willing to bite the bullet and move on. And you got to respect him for it. And not only that, he's done a really good job of getting good stuff back in the process. Like I mentioned, everything they got, especially in that Paul George trade, they set themselves up to be a contender in a few years, and they can already compete for a playoff spot.
We've got one more break to get to, so we'll get to it right now. You're listening to the Sportsline here on ESPN Radio 102.7 FM. When we come back, we'll have our deleted tweet segment. We'll have Gambling Garret picks. And I'm no longer winless, baby. 1-6. Let's go.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When our clients come to us for representation, I see way more than a client. I see me. When I hear someone has a herniated disc or a back injury, I think, what if that was me? How would that impact my life? I put myself in your shoes and in your life. When I look at your family, I see my family. This outlook makes my firm think differently than most. I understand that some injuries are forever, and forever is a very long time. For 30 years, we've helped hundreds of thousands recover what they deserve. $1 billion last year alone. Every time we hear your stories, we feel like it's us. If you're injured in a car crash, slip and fall, or the victim of medical malpractice, call us because we care. Dial Pound Law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com.
Offices Bowling Green. 643 is the place to be this Halloween. That's right, don't miss 643 Sports Bar and Grill's Halloween Party and Costume Contest. Beginning at 9 p.m. Halloween night. Featuring music from DJ Tez. And over $500 in cash prizes. The Halloween Party and Costume Contest, Halloween night at 9. 643 Sports Bar and Grill, 360 East 8th Avenue, Bowling Green.
Hilltopper football keeps burning through Conference USA when WKU takes on FAU Saturday, November 2nd at 3. With only 2 more chances to see the Tops dominate at home this season, WKU wants everyone there to cheer on the Tops against the Owls. Bring 3 non-perishable food items to the ticket office or the game for a free ticket. And all food items will be donated to families in the Warren County, Bowling Green City school systems. Saturday, November 2nd at 3, it's WKU versus FAU. Get tickets today at WKUtickets.com or call 1-800-5-BIG-RED.
Welcome back. ESPN Radio 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio 1027.com. I'm Garret Browning at Garret Browning 5. You want to reach out on Twitter, holler in with maybe you got your Gambling Garret picks you want to get to. You're just so excited you want to throw me yours. That's fine. We're friends out here. Entertainment purposes only. We're all trying to help each other. We'll save the Gambling Garret for just a second. Local Sports Center update. Basketball season is back. Exhibition matchups October 31st. Lady Toppers host Kentucky Wesleyan at 7 o'clock. The men's basketball team hosts Kentucky State November 2nd at 7:30. And remember, the Hilltoppers host FAU this Saturday at 3 o'clock. A crucial East Division matchup for the Hilltoppers coming off that Marshall loss. Tyler Eaton in studio with us, host of Red Towel Radio. Remember, you can hang out with us, Topper Tailgate, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Saturday here on ESPN Radio or out in front of the WKU store before the FAU matchup. I know you'll get a lot into it on Thursday, but quickly, what did you think about that game this Saturday, man?
Man, it hurt. I mean, it really hurt my heart.
Oh, it was tough.
It stung me because I was listening to Randy, because I don't know. When I watch a game, I have to listen to Randy, because the way that Randy talks through things, Randy, Lee, and Leo, it's just, I got to listen to him.
Have you noticed there's a new app you can get where it times out the radio broadcast with your TV?
Yes, I've been using it. It's
I forgot the name of it, but you can shout it out if you want.
It's fantastic. And I was listening to Randy, and he was, as the kicker gets ready to take the winning field goal, he keeps reminding us, he's like, oh, he's perfect on the season. He's been one of the best in the country. And I'm like, dude, this is lining up so perfectly. He has to miss this. This game has to go into overtime, and Western has to win it. Then he makes the first one. Then he makes the second one. And then he makes the third one. And after the second one went through, Randy, you could tell in his voice, was like, this kid's not going to miss. And to have a kicker that a 50-plus yard field goal 3 straight times, puts it right through, and it looked like it could have been good from 60.
Man.
At that point, you just got to tip your cap. But and this is something that I've talked to several people about.
Andy hit the clean celebration.
That's true. That's true. But one thing that I've talked to several people about is that last year's team in that situation, down 3 scores, probably just lays down.
Absolutely.
Probably just lays down.
That is a great point.
And the fact that they kept fighting, and I tip my cap to their kicker, but even more so, I tip my cap to Mr. Ty Story, because he took an absolute beating. Took one targeting call. They blatantly missed another one, the big hit that I was watching and listening for the Facebook stream, and he was like, oh, that's a good clean hit. The dude led with his helmet directly into Ty's helmet. It wasn't a good clean hit. It was a foul. They didn't call it, of course. And you can gripe about the Zebras.
I always love when they ask, like, the commentators. It's like they'll ask the quarterback commentator, hey, was that a clean hit? He's like, no.
Guy thinks it's a target.
Yeah. And then the defensive guy is always, oh, it's a clean hit. It's like, of course. Well, again, this Thursday at 5 o'clock, right? You're on normal time.
Back to 5.
Normal time this week for Red Towel Radio this Thursday at 5 o'clock for all your Hilltopper knowledge. We'll get basketball tidbits. We'll get football tidbits.
Oh, Randy Lee's going to join us. Brett Williams going to join us. We're going to dig into some basketball, talk some football. It's going to be a good one.
Ooh, I can't wait. And now I can't wait. It's our favorite segment. Well, second favorite segment.
From freezing cold takes to that 1 a.m. mistake, it's Deleted Tweets.
It's time for our hottest take of the week. What better way to start off the week than giving your hottest take possible? Last week, I led things off with, I told you the Nats in 6 for the World Series, and boy, did I feel good after the first 2 games of the World Series.
It looked like you were going to get Nats in 4, period.
On the road in Houston, they won 2 straight games against their aces, Justin Verlander and against Garrett Cole. Of course, Max Scherzer did come down with neck spasms, questionable for the rest of the World Series. Anyways, Houston comes back to Washington for the next 3 games, sweeps them. All 3 games in Washington go to Houston.
This stings.
The Astros lead 3-2. I mentioned it earlier, and you mentioned it during the break. I can't imagine there's been another World Series where the first 5 games have been won by the road team.
No, yeah, it's just no way. I mean, what I would love to see a stat, like if this game goes 7 and the road team wins every game, like, has anything like that happened before?
I mean, there have been so many World Series.
You would think at least
it's
once
possible.
It's had to happen, but man, that's just. It seemed like it was Washington's to lose, and well, they've kind of lost it.
And I haven't even given you the deleted tweet. I just told you mine from last week. This week, I'm sticking with the same trend. The Nationals are going to do the impossible. They're going to win all 4 road games in Houston to take the series and win the series in 7 games. That's my deleted tweet.
So in our minds, it would make history. We don't know if it's actually a history or not, but we can build it up.
In
like
my
that, so
personal record book, they're
right.
the first team ever because it's the first team I remember to do it.
It would be the first team that has ever made one of your deleted tweets come true, and that in itself deserves to be written in the history books. And I've got mine ready because we've been talking about this Marshall game, and we've been talking about the fact that technically WKU is still at the top of the East, but Marshall controls their own destiny. Well, here's my prediction. WKU, at some point down the line, will once again control their own destiny because Marshall's going to drop a game. And I've already pinpointed the game because I had to look because the Marshall team's pretty darn good. I had to find somebody that could actually beat them. November 15th. It's going to be a Friday nighter in Huntington. Louisiana Tech comes to town. And the Fighting Texters are going to put down the Thundering Herd.
They're looking ahead to Thanksgiving.
Right. They're thinking about the turkey. I don't know how good Thanksgiving is in Huntington because it's in Huntington. You can take that for what you want it. But let me say this. They're going to lose that game, and WKU is going to have full control over Conference USA East. Now, will they win it? I cannot say. I do not know, but they will have control.
I saw where one of the bars in Huntington said they were going to stop serving Kentucky bourbon. And look, usually I'm going to say that's a good ploy. That's a good way to bring in consumers. That is probably not the best way to bring people into your bar.
What else are you going to serve?
Yeah, hey, we're not serving any Kentucky bourbon or whiskey. I don't think that worked out well for that Huntington bar. And I mean, you got your social media fame.
Like people would want to come celebrate, and what are they going to celebrate with? A cherry Coke? I mean, what are you doing?
Huntington bourbon laced with fentanyl. That's awful. I'm sorry. We'll switch gears. Gambling Garrett next. The luck is back on my side for our Gambling Garrett segment. Thanks, Frank. The Titans minus 2.5 this week. I did it. I break the streak. I was 0-5. Headed into the Titans matchup this Sunday. They covered by 4, and now I'm 1-1 for the past week. I'll lead things off for our segment. We like to do one favorite and one underdog, and usually I'll try to pick the Monday night one. And I hate tonight's Monday night game. I'm not going to do it.
I'll take it.
It is minus 14 Steelers.
I'm glad because I'll take it. Give me Miami.
Oh, you like Miami to cover? I couldn't do it.
Pittsburgh's not very good.
I couldn't do it.
Give me Miami.
Miami plus 14. Tyler likes that underdog. I'll give you my underdog. I'm doing it. You're not going to like it, Tyler. I'm doing it. The Tennessee Titans on the road at the Panthers plus 3.5. I tell you right now, if the Titans lose this game, it's because of a field goal in the final minute. I am so confident that the Titans are at least going to lose by 3.
So you're picking Tennessee to cover, but you're also picking them to lose.
Oh, I'm so confident a field goal is going to beat them.
Now, I respect that 100%.
So
because either way, you win.
Yeah, in a way. In a way, yes.
I mean, I respect it, I guess.
Favorite, we'll go with our one favorite. Again, these are 2 picks from the coming week of NFL games.
Don't steal my favorite, Garrett.
Which would be week 9. I'll go favorite since you got to lead off the underdogs.
Don't steal my favorite.
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, good. I'm playing.
They're hosting the Redskins this weekend. Minus 10 Buffalo.
I thought about that one as my dog.
That's a lot of points for Buffalo, but I don't see the Redskins scoring anything.
They're really bad.
Buffalo's defense is very good, too.
But, I mean, Washington now, and I saw this stat, it blew my mind. Back-to-back weeks, I think they failed to score a touchdown, and yet they've covered. That is impressive. Now, last week they were aided solely by the weather, and that's the only reason that they cover.
Of course, usually they're facing such big spreads that they only need to score like 10 points.
Right, so like if you just hold the other team under 50 points, you're going to cover. So I thought about going with Washington and my dog, but I'm liking the Miami pick. And my favorite, this one was very easy for me. I like the favorites this week or this coming week a lot better than I like the underdogs. That's why I stuck with tonight's Monday matchup. Houston, 2.5. They're being favored in Jacksonville. Give me Houston by at least a field goal.
That's actually
that for me.
That game's actually in London, but Jacksonville is the home team.
That makes it even easier. Yeah. If it were in Jackson, see, either way, I was going with Houston. Now that you tell, see, I see it now, 8:30 a.m.
Yeah, that's. I was really close to picking that one too.
Now, listen, with it being, if it were in Jacksonville, the average age in Jacksonville is like 87. So I could believe that it was an 8:30 kickoff because all of them are out of bed and fully dressed by 3:35.
I thought that was Boca Raton and FAU.
Oh, either one of them, right? And they're all in that southern Florida area.
Before Frank Sinatra sends us off into your Monday night, reminder that the Coaches Show is tonight. Tyson Helton Coaches Show over on Sam 100.7 at 7 o'clock. They will be out at Roosters. They got good wings, good chicken, man. If Roosters is in the name, you better have good chicken. Am I right?
Oh, for once, you are undeniably right.
Reminder that World Series back on Tuesday. Game 6 between the Nats and the Astros in Houston at 7:07. The Tops versus FAU Saturday, 3 o'clock. Topper tailgate at 1 o'clock. Thank you, Frank, for ending things here on the Sports Line. Mondays, 5 to 6 for Tyler Eaton. I'm Garret Browning. Thank you for listening, and good night, sports fans.